Welcome to Church 3.0, presented by Apollos, a podcast where we explore the nuances of modern Christian culture and the challenges of cultivating community while maintaining impact and relevance in the church. Join Tyler Vance, COO of Apollos, as he talks to church leaders from around the world to gain a deeper understanding of the Christian faith in a modern context. Push boundaries, change lives, create a more hopeful future.
Thank you for joining us today. You have friends in life that that you text back and forth with, and then you have friends that you share dinner under a roof together. Alan, George, you and your family are very much close friends to the Vance family. I'm so appreciative of you. And sometime, maybe today, we'll tell the story of the first day we met. But if you are unaware of who Alan George is, Alan George has had a front row seat to how the church has operated at scale through different roles in many different seasons. Today, you're in a season of helping people rethink what that looks like moving forward. You're stepping more and more into preaching and speaking on weekends and really offering that gift to churches. Your day to day, you get to spend a lot of time with BattleCreek Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Alan, thank you for hanging out with me as a friend today, but investing in our community. I'm super stoked to have a conversation with you. So thank you.
Same here. I love it. And it reminds me, I feel like we need to get our families back together again
Oh my
and grab
gosh.
a
We
meal.
say that all the
I
time, and
know.
it's always, kids' schedules and
And they're
little.
growing up like crazy. It's
I know, Alan, you're a band dad, and
yeah.
if there's anything, this is true real life behind the scenes. Alan's band dad experience has given me the tool set I need to rightfully try to move my daughter out of that life because of the family commitment
Good
it
luck.
takes. Alan, am I right?
Good luck. My son, he loves it though. So it's like
I
hard to talk
know.
him out of it. But my oldest daughter, she's graduating high school. So whole
I
new
know.
season. Yeah, it's God is good.
I know. And thank you for reminding me how much older you are. Not really. I just wanted to say that every year matters. And so no, that's a little deep cut behind the scenes. Alan, man, we've got to just experience a lot of church together. We've been blessed to get to see God move in a lot of different contexts, in a lot of different ways. Man, what are you seeing right now in the local church that just kind of brings light to you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see what God is doing across the just across his church all over the world. And what I'm seeing right now is there continues to be, it's not a brand new desire, but there continues to
Mm,
be a genuine desire for God, for his presence. And we talked about our kids. I think the stage of life I'm in right now, to see my older two teenagers just love going to Bible study
yeah.
every week and
Yeah.
love going to their student gathering every week, and they're involved. Like my son's picking up the guitar and trying to play and learn because he wants to be a part of worship. My daughter loves to sing. My youngest daughter is going with them. And so to see your children love the church and love God, I mean, that's just, it's hard to beat that. And so that's kind of the season we're living in. But I see that across the church in conversations I have, where there is this genuine desire of, man, we want people to experience God and people
Yeah.
want to experience God. And so I love that. It makes my heart be filled with hope because God's not done yet. He's not.
Dude, no. And I mean, as a parent, yeah, this today is really going to be just Alan and I's parenting journey. That's what we're gonna. That I to uh to see my 15-year-old son a reading his Bible every morning. He asks to wake up early so he can read the Bible.
Mhm.
He's reading through the Bible in a year. He's doing it in a paper Bible.
Wow.
He is, I mean, he's driven my commitment level.
Mhm.
At the same time, him and his friends, he has a friend with a YouTube channel where he shares a verse a day and a thought of around that verse. And to see my son, who is introverted beyond belief, I mean, we have friends that he has never talked to, even though we've known them for 15 years, of his life. And he is stepping into sharing his faith in a digital way and leading others to that. He's leading a small group at church, and it's it's you're right, Alan. As a parent, you're going, I can't take credit for this,
Mhm.
but I'm also so thankful for what I'm seeing in the expression of the generation that's coming. It is a deep faith,
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree.
anyways, thanks for joining us today. This has been Alan and I's sappy father time. No, I do think at the same time, I'm looking at this and the stewarding of what I do day in and day out and going, okay, how do we bridge the gap so that the church continues to be a place that has the opportunity to steward these expressions,
Mhm.
and you get to lean into that day in and day out. And also, Alan, you've recently been overseas and got to see expressions of the church outside of North America. Can you kind of
Yeah.
give a window into what's happening outside of the context of what's right in front of our face?
Yeah, so BattleCreek Church, we've been partnered with a group in Egypt for over 10 years. And it's been incredible to see what God is doing there. This most recent trip that I took, timing was interesting because the day I flew to Egypt was the day all the stuff with Iran and all that happened. Like it was the same day.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, I was flying via London, and so I didn't have any issues getting there. But the reason I went there was the team in Egypt was hosting a pastors conference. And I'm telling you, Tyler, to be in a room filled with pastors from that region, and we had people coming from Sudan and just different parts around Egypt, and to see these pastors hold hands and pray for their region, like the Middle East and North Africa, that just hit different, like, because they're living in it. It's one thing to see stuff on the news. It's a whole nother thing for you to be living in those environments and having to pastor your communities through it. And their faith is incredible. And you know this, I have a soft corner for the Middle East because even though I'm from India, I spent most of my life growing up in Bahrain, which is in the Middle East. And so my heart has always ached for that part of the world. And so to see leaders and pastors step up and cry out and intercede for their nations in the midst of trouble and war and all of that, it was just a powerful picture, and all ages were there. I got to talk to one of the elder pastors. He's been mentoring a lot of the up and coming pastors, and to hear just his joy and his heart. And we're just talking about stuff, and he was like, yeah, it's not like my days are over of being on stage and things like that. My heart is to pour into this next generation coming up. And then he spent his time encouraging me, and I was like, man, like that's just powerful. Like he's not
Yeah.
still like, I need the limelight on me, or like none of that. It was just, no, I know what season I'm in, and right now, what God has me do is pour into this next generation because they can go further than I've ever been. And his passion towards that, his energy, his intentionality, that was really inspiring to me.
Yeah. What did you bring? I mean, those experiences are so intense, so life-giving, so they're so just different than what we get to experience every day.
Mhm.
Obviously, you came back to a church that sent you. What was the thing you tried to bring back? I mean, obviously, I'm not asking like, what did you try and manufacture that
Sure.
existed there, but what is the thing that spilled out of you coming back into Battle Creek?
What I noticed when I was there was so the one thing, there were a few things that stood out, but one of the main things that stood out was when they talk about discipleship, and these are my words, not theirs, but for them, discipleship was not necessarily a strategy; it was relationship. The only way I can say this is or explain it is when they spend time as a team together, like during the day, like call it work hours or whatever you want to call it, their life together doesn't end there. What happens after that in the evenings are they still meet up with their families, and these leaders have their families come, like they literally do life together. It didn't feel like, okay, this is work and I've got a strategy and I've got this and these are the people I lead. And all right, thanks guys for a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow. It wasn't that as much as, man, we're in it together. We're doing life. Our families know each other. Our kids play with each other. We know each other's kids' names and what's going on in their life. Like it was a very highly relational community, highly relational group, and I saw that and I thought, man, I grew up in that, but over the
Yeah.
years, like moving here to the US, I think even my perspectives changed and I've drifted away from that kind of communal relational discipleship and my heart yearned to go back to that. And
Mm.
um, I don't know how to do that yet. I don't know how to figure that out and navigate all that. Because all the excuses are running in my mind of, man, I'm too busy. The kids' band practice, like you've got all these things going on.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
there's something special about doing life together with people and with the teams that you're working with and your community. And I thought, man, that it's important for us to get back to that, and I meant that, like, as a family, like, for us. How
Yeah.
do we
No, no,
how do
no.
we
Yeah.
get back to that? We live in a housing addition, and one of the things that I'm challenging myself with is, how do I get to know them better? Go deeper than the surface level. Because yes, I can ask
Mm.
them, "How's your" like, "Man, your lawn looks great," "I know you like lawn, and I know you're passionate about that. That's why I figured I'll
Hey,
throw that in there,"
listen,
and that's
listen,
that's important.
Alan. I mean, I doubt their lawn looks great, but yeah. I mean, yeah. And for a
But it's
long
going
time,
deeper and, like,
y-
how's your like, what's going on in life and just we live near each other. Uh, back in the day, I'm sure when people live near each other, you have more conversations and you know what's going on in each other's lives. Now, and I'm speaking to myself here, I have the garage door opening even before I get to the house just so that I can pull in and shut it behind me and go into my house? How do
yeah,
I change that? How do I do life with those around me? Those are some of the things that I'm personally challenging myself with.
yeah. And I would love to say that Nicole and I have been like super intentional with that, but I've said for a long time, like we're front porch people,
Mhm,
and we just happen to have a house that has a front porch in a
mhm.
neighborhood, and we just happen to have outside kids. I call them outside kids.
Yeah,
Our
yeah.
kids were active and in the neighborhood and outside, and so Nicole and I developed this habit and this rhythm of just, if our kids were outside, we were outside. Half of that was because uh, um, obviously we had a kid, and a crazy story. We had a kid get hit by a car in our neighborhood, and so like half of that was because
Yeah.
like being good parents. But the downstream of that was, listen, we got to know every neighbor that was out walking. We got
Mhm,
to People would, because of our yard, people would stop by and they'd want to have conversations. And the dads in the neighborhood that all worked from home would, they're ready to get out and talk. And
mhm.
we just got to develop um, these relationships. And so exactly what you're saying, like there's an element of that where, in a really practical sense, like you don't need a front porch. You need a lawn chair and your driveway and your garage
Mhm,
door open, and be
mhm.
weird and sit in your driveway in a lawn chair and make your kids get off, their Xbox and put a basketball goal in your drive. And like
Mhm.
we're not talking rocket science, but I understand the yearning there
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
And this is what Nicole and I got to experience, and the invites from church and the deep
Mhm.
conversations and the, the things that have flowed out of that have been rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, that's a great what else? Why when you talk about like, hey, here's something Meryl and I are trying to pick up. How else are you trying to incorporate that into what you're bringing back from Egypt?
Um, I think a lot of times, and especially for someone like me, um, especially since leaving corporate America, like what in 2010, I've been working at a church or in a ministry or involved in the church, and so how do I switch off? I don't know if it's switch off, but I've got to be careful that it doesn't turn into this is work and then there's life.
Oh
I
yeah,
need to. I want to challenge myself to where it, it's n- it, it's not just about here are the goals we have, here's the strategy we have, and all of that, which I think is great because when you're talking about scaling ministries, you're talking about scaling organizations and all that stuff. You've got to have a plan. You've got to know where you're going.
yeah,
But how do we also, or for me, how do I also remember that those conversations, and how do I yeah, I think it's maybe I'm saying the same thing, but it's still I think the biggest challenge for me is that communal relational discipleship model.
yeah,
Because that is what Jesus did. And I think here's where I get hung up. I'm more and more I'm trying to compare my today with how Jesus lived. And sometimes there's stark differences in the way he lived versus in the way I'm living. And how do I make sure that I'm lining up more with him? Like, I'll give you an example. You and I have talked about this before, but I think in an effort to um, be good stewards of my time, and I'm all about maximizing and being efficient, I had scheduled my calendar in such a way that I allowed almost no interruptions. And then you see the life of Jesus, and you see many of the miracles that he did were in the interruptions. And
yeah,
so I see that and I go, okay, there's a big difference between the way I'm living and the way he was living. Obviously, when you listen to the corporate gurus and all the maximizing experts and all these different podcasts and all that stuff, everything's about here's how you manage your time and here's this and here's that. And Jesus lived a very, what in the church space we call, it was an upside down kingdom. Like, he lived very differently, and yet he served the greatest mission that ever was and is. And if he could do that, how can I realign myself to his life and his
yeah.
way of leadership rather than what I have learned from the world?
All right,
So
yeah, Alan, let
it's
me
more
click
on
into
that
that.
thread of
Yeah,
communal relational discipleship.
let me click in. Golly, and this is why we could probably do a podcast a week, because this thought alone, I mean, you're just pulling on something that would take years to unpack, right? Um, th- th- this is a I'm gonna stand on a soapbox for a minute, and you know me, you know that that's coming. This is where the church gets leadership and scale wrong. Um, and what I mean by that is, you have the opportunity, and we've been a part of this, where you design systems that allow you to scale, but what they really allow you to do is operate within clarity every day,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
When you actually design an organizational system, when you actually give the right leadership that's necessary, what the downstream of that, the indicator, maybe you can apply this to your own leadership, but litmus test for leadership, if you're listening, is that the people that I'm leading have clarity to go operate autonomously,
mhm.
right? That does not, and to your point of what you just said, that actually does not um, conflict with you saying, I need to have the ability to be interrupted. I want to
Mhm,
have the posture for interruption. Uh,
mhm,
no, 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 no. You can both be a great leader and apply organizational clarity.
mhm,
Where you will get it wrong is if you apply great leadership and have organizational clarity at the expense of the ability to exercise a way of life, a
mhm,
rhythm of life,
mhm.
maybe I'll use that word, that reflects Jesus. That
Yes.
it should actually be the thing that moves you because of clarity, because of responsibility, because of autonomy. You should actually be able to move yourself closer to
Mhm.
to the to the rhythm of Jesus. It shouldn't separate you. That is my
Yeah.
thought of that, and probably the thing I would say that we still have not figured out how to get right in the local church as we've brought in a culture of leadership
Mhm.
and we've sought to scale the scale not for the sake of size, but scale for the sake of stewarding the thing that God is doing.
Yeah.
It has we have yet to put the extra piece of that puzzle in and maintain the rhythm of Jesus.
Yeah.
And I mean, gosh, Alan, how many pastors um don't really live out a Sabbath?
Mhm. Well, so, I'm remembering, Dallas Willard has this in one of his books, and
Mm.
I'm like, don't hear that and go, "Oh," like, I've had a hard time understanding anything Dallas Willard wrote. I'm just not I just it's, like, hard, and so, thankfully, there are people in my life that can interpret what he says and explain it to me. One of those
Yeah.
things that hit me was he talks about how, like, he gave this example of Isaiah. Isaiah in Isaiah 6, he has this vision of God, and he sees God sitting in the throne room and all of his glory and splendor and all of that, and that leads Isaiah to say, God says, "Who will go for me?" And he says, "Send me." And so he talks about how Isaiah had this vision of God that then birthed a mission. Somewhere on the journey, if we're not careful, we flip the order.
Ooh.
And instead of, like with Isaiah, it was the vision of God that led to the mission. But if we're not careful, that mission could be all we keep our eyes on. And before we realize, we kind of reprioritize, and the mission becomes what we're living for. But you cannot substitute what you're doing for who you're becoming. And who you're becoming is directly connected to your vision of who God is, and that one-on-one connection. And
Yeah.
so, like I heard, I mean, I heard someone quote the scripture, "Be still and know God." We have to find. You talk about Sabbath. We have to find time where we're not so focused on the mission to where we're not taking time to be still, to know Him and reconnect and recharge, and because that is our source of life.
Yeah. Uh,
You know.
I mean, uh, this is a thought I was wrestling with you with. So I will, and as you're listening, be gracious with me as I unpack this thought because I'm thankful for friendships like Alan where I can wrestle in something, and I'll give you guys insight into one of the things I'm wrestling with is it's this thing where uh, if you look in practice and in uh, principality, I think the church began as the expression of, you look at the day of Pentecost, the church, began, and I mean we could get caught up on linguistics and words and things like that, but the church really began as an expression of this thing, and we've really kind of begun to mold church into the starting point of the thing,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
And I'm just wrestling with this idea of, and Alan, you brought this up, and the things that you and Meryl are leaning into. How do we bring faith back into the homes?
mhm,
How do we bring faith that's centered more around the dinner table and everyday life, and then move that faith into an expression of the local church on the weekend?
Yeah.
right? And in Apollo's
Yeah.
group say 7 days, not just Sundays, and that's been a tagline. I don't think people really understand what we're really saying on that. It was like, no, we want you to pray together as a community
Mhm.
and read scripture together as a community. But we ultimately believe that's going to draw you around dinner tables together as a
Mhm.
community.
Mhm.
And if you spend enough time around a dinner table together with a group of people, you're going to show up on the same place that they are Sunday morning and have a massive expression of your
Yeah.
thankfulness to
Yeah.
the God of which you've gotten to know all week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead, because I'm just
I
gonna.
was just gonna say, I think somewhere along the way, we've allowed the institution to carry responsibility that
Ooh,
actually belongs to us. Not because anyone meant to do that, but it happened. It's kinda like, I don't know, life cycle of an organization or however you wanna put it. So the real question in my mind, it's not whether our churches are making disciples or not, it's whether I
we
am
are.
making
Yeah.
disciples or not.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And how do we get back to that question and that challenge?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, this is uh you and I think have talked about this. Our a good mutual friend of ours um, shared a book with me, Off Balance on Purpose. And that was one of the key things as people look and have conversations with Nicole and I. One of the things they ask is like, okay, how do you guys deepen, your faith together as a couple? And I think my blink response is we deepen our faith when we seek to not be off
Mhm,
balance, right?
mhm,
When we're trying to move in a place where we're trying to, and this is probably just a tad bit different than what you talked through with your journey with Merrill. Like when we're trying to control every bit of everything or try and fit it neatly in box. Obviously, we have kids' schedules and sports and band, bless it. Um, and all those things, but like when we find ourselves looking and intentionally having our eyes open for the off balance,
mhm,
I can directly correlate massive seasons of growth with where Nicole and I stepped into massive seasons of trying to
mhm,
intentionally disrupt our lives.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
But as a local church, how do we empower people to do that? How do we get them close enough, sticky enough with each other, where they can see opportunities uh, to disrupt their lives, but also where they're walking close enough together where they can just identify it. I don't know,
Mhm.
Alan. This is my thoughts. Thank you for
Yeah.
listening.
I mean, you talked about, your kids going through the Bible in a year, so confession time. I you know, I read my Bible, but I never, like, read through the whole Bible. I read it. There were days I would miss it. And so I remember talking as my kids were getting older, I remember talking to them about reading the Bible, and as they got much older, it's like, "Okay, you gotta do more than just a verse a day." And so I wanted to find something that we could like, "Hey, why don't we read the whole Bible throughout the year?"
Yeah,
And so last year we started and we did the Bible recap because there's a little devotional. Because sometimes you read stuff in the Old Testament and my kids are like, "Oh, what in the world is this?" And it's like it helps when Terry Cobble kind of explains what's going on.
sure.
But
Yeah,
I'll tell
yeah,
you, here's what
absolutely.
happened though. My personal discipleship journey got so much better
Mm,
because I asked my kids to do it. Because what we do is we have a thread together with my oldest 2,
yeah,
and they'll share their God shot, which is like, what stood out to you about God?
yeah.
And you can see if I missed a day. And so it's like I can't so in an effort to hold them accountable, I made sure I read it, but it really like it was a powerful moment. It's something special. And as we got to the end of last year, I was like, guys, we're going to do it again. And so my hope is we'll do it forever together, you know?
Yeah.
And and so I think like when you say like I've been a full-on follower of Christ since 2000. And I can tell you there's there's more revelation from scripture that I've read thousands of times in the past that I'm seeing today that I've never saw before. I'll say this too, because this has been what's messing me up. So, and maybe we've talked about this before. Ephesians 3:20 is like one of my favorite verses. Like God
Yeah.
can do exceedingly immeasurably more
Yeah.
than, all of that.
Oh, yeah.
And I had always seen that verse through the filter of God can do more, like in terms of scale of ministry, scale of vision, scale of organization. And I remember this one moment where I'm reading this verse and genuinely, all right, my journey, all of that. There was this season where I'm like, God, you said you do immeasurably more. Like, that's
Yeah.
not happening. Like, I'm not seeing immeasurably more. And there was this moment, it's not an audible voice for me. I don't think it's ever been an audible voice that I've heard, but just this feeling in my heart of God saying, hey, do you know me more than you've ever thought you've known me? And this light bulb aha moment of like, what if Ephesians 3:20 is not just about scaling ministry and he can do more, but what if it's also him saying, I can do beyond what you ever thought possible when it comes to knowing me? And it just like that,
Oh,
I see that verse now in a completely different lens of
yeah.
in the past for me was purely scale and how big the ministry can be and all of that. Today,
Yeah.
it's very different for me. It's more of God can do immeasurably more than I can ever imagine when it comes to me understanding and knowing Him, because the Bible says eternal life is knowing Him.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so
whew.
that should be the driving force for each one of us. I don't know if that answered your question, or I don't even know how we got on this tangent,
No,
but like
and so
that has been in my heart right now.
no, listen, dude. I, I, uh, man, what did you and I have talked about this, and I'm trying to understand the phrasing, um, the phrasing that we've used together. Uh, I don't think either of us have a posture to correct the church,
Mhm,
but I want to call it to something different.
mhm.
And so I look at the organizations, the institutions of the local church, and I'm incredibly thankful for them. Um, I mean, I see God moving, and obviously, He is. Um, yeah, there's a significant investment in the work of the Holy Spirit for what the local church is, the expression of it, the leadership of it. I have nothing but great things to say about the local church. So I think there are some that share perspectives to move outside the walls of the local church. I actually share perspective, just so it's clear, to move people more into the walls of the local church. But I do desire for um, the thing that you're wrestling with. How do we get people uh, uh, to a relationship with God where that's the outflow?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been thinking about that a lot because um what is a metric
Oh
to
man,
where you can determine are we winning or not?
yeah.
And John Orberg was the one who told me this. He's like, when you think about a metric, when you think about the rubric, you've got to create a rubric in a way that if the Pharisees were taking it, they're not winning. Like,
Oh
because
my
is it
gosh,
like reading your
say that
Bible more,
again.
or
Say that
like
again.
it's like, well, now what do I do? And so I think for me, it goes back to the guy that asked Jesus, like, hey, what is the greatest commandment? And he made it as simple as possible: love God and love people. It's what we are called to be known for. And so in our communities, let's break it down, because in our neighborhoods, are we known for love? And is every strategy, every goal, every weekend metric, is all of that, is it coming from that desire of, man, I want to help people love God and love each other. And like if we can get that right, then that's what we need. Because everything else hangs on it. That's what Jesus says. And
Yeah.
so it sounds simple, but it's not. And yeah.
Um, yeah. And that is, thank you for sharing that, man. Yeah, and this is not a pre-thought idea. And honestly, Alan, we don't have a pre-thought conversation here. This is just you and I getting together.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have done better at that. Um, I maybe and so I look at the lens of like through Apollos and what we get to steward every day. Obviously, prayer is a massive
Oh
lever
my
we see
gosh.
on that, right?
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah.
and eh, maybe that lever matters because we give people a discipline and a habit that is honestly very hard um to just kind of sit in your own room and do on your own, right? So we give access to maybe a spiritual discipline that seems hard or distant. But actually maybe the real unlock is it humanizes those around you.
Mhm. So here's how I see it too. If we want to get better at something, we've got to train at it.
Sure.
And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that feature in Apollos where people can share your prayer requests, especially if you're not used to doing life with others and it feels awkward. And it's like, man, how do you go up to someone and say, "Can I be your best friend?" But we're back in middle school. Like if all of that is what we're dealing with, now churches have an opportunity to where communities and people can say, "Hey, can you pray for me? We're going
Yeah.
through this thing right now, or we're navigating this challenge. Can you pray for me?" And that gives people that entry point to go, "Oh man, I did see Tyler at church today. I didn't realize he was navigating that." Or I saw Alan at church, or I saw him in the lobby. I said hi, but now if I saw that prayer request, I can go, "Hey man, I want you to know that I prayed for you." Like obviously in the app you can do that, but now face to face you can as well. And so like what I love about the Apollos app and that feature is it's providing opportunities for us to make big churches feel small or busy churches feel connected or however you
Yeah.
want to analyze that. So I think there's that feature goes way deeper than just a feature. I think it's an it's a way to train your people in spiritual disciplines.
Yeah. Well, and I'm in a real time like process here. Um, I talked about, hey, Nicole and I being really off balance. Like if I'm honest, one of the craziest off balance things that really grew our faith was Nicole serves in our church on a Thursday team that sets everything up for the
Mhm,
weekend, right? And um, she's beyond amazing as an individual. I love her
mhm,
to death. Um, One of the things that she does as she leads that team is she stops and they pray over everything, but for
mhm,
each other. It was through prayer, Alan, that she actually had this crazy faith leaning in thing where she wanted to meet a need that was very significant.
mhm,
And if I go back and I'm actually just like, as you're saying that, I'm tracing in real time, many of the most off balance places we found ourselves very tangibly came
mhm,
out of prayers that other people prayed that we had the insight that they were
mhm,
praying,
mhm,
right? Um, and so I do think maybe prayer is a massive unlock. It has been, and I hadn't processed this except for right in this moment. Prayer has been a massive unlock
mhm,
in expanding Nicole and I's faith, or
mm,
challenging us to live closer to, um, walking in a way that Jesus would walk, to use your words, right?
mhm.
Um, yeah, man.
Yeah, because social media, I mean, we all know this, it gives people the highlights. Like, I'm not posting on social media saying, hey, I've got this prayer request. Can you all pray for me? Like, that's not typically what you see. People do that, but I think that's where, if as pastors are listening to this, there's an opportunity. If you want to help your people feel more connected and you want them to grow together and do life together, you've got to help train them and develop that skill in them to where they're comfortable, um, you know, talking to each other. I think this also affects your groups, because if you
Yeah.
can train them in being vulnerable and sharing prayer requests and sharing, like, hey, here's how God answered that prayer. Thank you for praying. Like, it just ties, it gets people closer together. That's going to send a ripple effect throughout your church, and it's going to strengthen it more.
Yeah. I mean, golly, a friend and I were just talking about this in a different context. Um, um, it, it it was actually in the context of generosity, and they were really asking the question, like, okay, uh, I I'm cheerfully giving
Mhm.
financially, but how might I cheerfully give? Beyond that, like I really want to go all in. Uh, and like, there's only so much financial lever I have. I literally want to go all in. And my direct question to him was like, when's the last time you took someone dinner, or but bought someone gas at a gas station? And just the random acts of like, hey, I just feel the prompting of the Holy Spirit. I'm going to step into this moment. And very honestly, Alan, it was like I feel like I have the ability to speak that into this person's life, because I literally, you know, 2 nights before this conversation had taken someone
Mhm.
dinner, and we've kind of lost that connectedness.
Yeah.
Maybe is the major theme you and I are kind of clicking into, if I would say it.
Well, and I think in my own life, I realize I do less of those things, like less of like, who can I bless? Who can I take dinner to? I find myself doing less of that when I'm really focused on myself,
Yeah.
because all my
Yeah.
attention is, what am I doing? What am I accomplishing? What opportunities can I figure out how to open? Like, when I'm waking up and all I can think about is me, 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 there's no space for me to even hear from God when He says, hey, you need to take that family some dinner tonight. And it's like, hold on, I'm trying to figure out my act together.
Yeah.
And that's like, I- it's, man, that's a journey for me, to be honest, because it's, what I'm trying to figure out is, how do I, because I'm a driven person, how do I channel that drivenness to being less selfish and less thinking about myself, and how can I point that
Yeah.
energy, intentionality, and effort towards the other people around me, and just like stop thinking about myself um
Yeah.
all the
Well,
time, you know?
um,
Gosh, this is like, confession time with you,
I know,
Tyler.
I know,
I don't
I
know
know,
what's going
Alan.
on.
And listen, I'm sure people are
I
listening.
was
They're like, you
bare my
get
heart here.
get a counselor. And I just tell you, if you're listening, I have a counselor. She is overworked and probably has heard your name before. Um, I would Nicole and I were we shared a moment. I just want to I will wrap this train of thought. We'll move on to something else, I promise.
Okay,
But
okay.
um a good friend of ours, Sam, spoke on the weekend, just a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
Um and so Nicole and I were sitting there, we're reminiscing, obviously. Remember Sam's first day on the team, when we were on the same team with him, and just talking about that. And Nicole said, when our first child was born, they came and they didn't just bring us dinner, and
Uh-huh.
they brought us dinner and ate with us.
Uh-huh.
And it mattered. It
Uh-huh.
mattered in that moment, but it mattered enough that that was the first thing Nicole said, of like, I I know that family in a different way,
Uh-huh.
because they didn't just show up in the convenient way. They showed up and got messy with us.
Yeah.
And I just encourage you, like, man, we need to be leading our churches to show up and get messy together. Um, and we need to do that maybe in a more practical sense. We need to do that in a way that's not just, hey, how do we do this on Sunday?
Yeah.
We need to blend the world of digital and physical together. We've been
Yeah.
saying that for Alan. You've
Yeah.
led the way on that. You know, uh, long before anybody else. And
Mhm.
and I'm
Because
just
it's about the people.
yeah.
Like, it's not about the platform or the building. It's where can we meet our people? And if they're online, we'll meet them there. If they're in a building, we'll meet them there. If they're not in our building and if they're not on our social media platforms, are we still figuring out a way to be present in their
Mm,
lives? And I
mm.
think it's yeah, to your point, it's not an either or journey. It's like I want to meet them wherever they are because that is what God has called us to do. He's called us to go into the world and make disciples. And so it's I think we focus too much on the platform or the building. We need to reprioritize and focus on the person and the individual and how do we meet them in their time of need wherever they are.
Yeah, I think the age old question of, is it chicken or egg? If we fill the building up, will we eventually get disciples? Or if we build disciples, will we eventually fill the building up?
Do both.
Yeah,
Do both. Do
yeah.
everything you can, you
The-
know?
the- Do do both intentionally, do both
Yes.
in some blended way, like the just
Because
call people to
what
something
that
greater.
the question you're asking, and I think it's the, God said, go, Jesus said, go make disciples. And somewhere in our church lingo, we've divided that word as evangelism and discipleship. And we go, oh, we're an evangelistic church. We're not really that strong in discipleship. Or we're a discipleship church. We're not that strong in evangelism. Jesus never split the two. It's one and it's the same thing. And that's why I say we have to do both. Like
Yeah,
cast the net wide, but do life with people, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Take every opportunity you can to reach the masses, but don't forget to reach your neighbor. And so it's that combination of it's not an either or. Our mutual friend Kevin Penry, he always says this, Alan, why are you always stuck in binary thinking? It's either this or that. No,
oh yeah.
it can be both.
Oh man, listen, Alan, I I I have to cap our
Yes. I know
time.
we're over time.
Listen, we're not overtime. I don't actually set a binary time to your point of when we need to end. So I will mimic also my good friend Kevin and tell you on that. No, I just appreciate and I want more people to hear your heart for the local church. You have such a unique experience, both building at scale, but also pioneering and leading the way with digital, um, and eh, doing things that no one theologically thought was correct at the time. Let's be honest. But hopefully we're beyond that. I just want more people to hear from you and connect with you. You have a
Thank you, man.
genuine um, you just have a genuine heart for the church and eyes to see it differently. So I'm always
Thank
encouraged by our conversations. I will make sure to give people ability to reach out to you, but it's always reachalangeorge.com. Um, did I say that correctly?
It's alanvgeorge.com,
Alan
but
V.
reach
George.
out
I
George at
thought that was the case.
gmail.com.
Reach
Yeah.
Alan V. George. This is you get a double. You get double here.
We'll just put it in the notes.
Reachalanvgeorge.com.
Yeah.
Huh?
We'll just put it in the notes.
Yeah, I will put it in the notes. We'll make connections there. You've been gracious for your time. You're a great friend, and so thank you for
Thank you, man. Thank you
just
for the
letting
opportunity.
me wrestle with the things that God is putting in my heart out loud with you, and you sharing that and sharing your own things there. let me end today. First off, any final thoughts from you, and then I'm going to end with quick fire
No,
questions.
I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for our friendship and love getting to have these conversations. And I'm a big fan of Apollos and what you guys are doing and how you're helping the local church. I mean, we need more. We need more ways to empower and equip the church so we can do what God's called us to do.
Yeah, thank you, all right, rapid fire quick questions. I want to be honest. I do need to give a disclaimer on this. Some of these are going to be self-serving for me. So I want to lead off with that. Alan, best car for a new driver?
Best car for a new driver?
Yeah.
The one you can afford, I guess. I don't know. Don't get into debt. This is coming because I have a driver and I have a second one coming, and so this is like very real for me. Yeah, best bet the one you can afford. That's the one you get.
I would maybe say the one you can afford to lose.
Yes, yeah. As a parent, and that's safe with airbags.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Um, as a foodie, what's the best local place you've eaten in the last 6 months?
Man, bro, you got to give me a heads up on this. Like,
No, this is quick fire. Listen,
best local place.
and as you're
So
thinking about that, if you don't know, Alan is very passionate about this and is Yelp recognized for his passion.
so the recent one that we went to, it's so Chef Andrew Black, James Beard winner, his
Uh-huh.
newest restaurant, Dougla Kitchen. I don't know how to say it, but it's like based off of his Caribbean roots. Like that was a fun experience. We are big fans of him. Like whenever he opens up a restaurant, we're going there. So if you haven't tried it, it's worth trying. Shout out to Chef Black.
Great. Um, you've done a lot of church leadership.
Mhm.
What's one thing you'd do different if you started over?
Oh my gosh. I was like, how much time do we have?
Listen,
Um,
I said rapid fire, and listen, I hit you with the hard ones, man.
I I I think for me, and some of this I'm going to repeat what we've talked about. I
Yeah.
think the biggest wake up call for me was realizing that God cares more about who I'm becoming than what I'm doing. It's not that he doesn't care about what I'm doing, but he cares more about who I'm becoming. And I needed to prioritize that. And I wish I would have learned that earlier.
Okay. Good. All right. Rapid fire. Last one. You're hip, modern, just
What?
snazzy fella.
What?
As I go and I talk to church pastors, what's one fashion trend I need to
Bro,
emulate
wrong
just to be
person.
in the
Wrong.
ring?
I have no clue, bro. I have no clue. I have
Oh,
no
Alan,
clue.
Come
No
on.
clue. If you've noticed, every conversation we have, I wear black because that's one less decision I need to make because I can't pick clothes for my life. So if there's someone out there that is great and gifted at it, here I am. Like I would
Ah,
love your. So yes,
ah, that's less. I was interested in the answer, more a poke at Alan. I think he's the first. He's the first pastor I saw in a bomber jacket. So let's.
when it was done, like when it was no longer trendy.
No. Way before that. Way before that. Alan, thank you for hanging out today. And I sure appreciate you.
Thank you,
You're
brother.
valuable to me, my family, but your voice is valuable to the movement of the Holy Spirit in our generation. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Have a good one. See you.